Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian. Welcome back to the channel, Ian the Reader. Today I have a book review for you guys of The Boyfriend by Frieda McFadden. Now, Frieda McFadden is quite the popular author. She really blew up with her book, The Housemaid, which is right here. This book, if you haven't read or seen, I don't know where you are, like which rock are you living under? Is it that one or that one? It's one of them because you're living under a rock, because Frieda McFadden is inescapable, not only for The Housemaid. That was the one, like I said, that really launched her into like widespread popularity, but she had been writing books for quite some time before that point. And now she publishes like 2 to 3 novels a year, which is mind-blowing. Now, some of those were like republished older works that were now getting like traditional publication because she was an indie author at first, but she's also just publishing out like brand new stuff like all the time. It's absolutely insane. Like, I think this is her 3rd book this year. I know she published one called The Teacher, and then she published the 3rd book in the Housemaid series, and now The Boyfriend. So I wanted to read this book. Now, I won't say that I have loved everything I've read by Frieda McFadden. I've now read 3 books by her. The Housemaid was the first one, and I really enjoyed that one. Then I read, I think it's called Never Lie, which is, I want to say, like her 2nd most popular book outside of the Housemaid series, because I think the Housemaid books, there are 3 of those, and Never Lie is like right behind those in popularity. But I did not like that book, like, at all. I didn't like it. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the twists. I didn't like the rationality or lack thereof of the characters. And after reading that book and just some of my issues with the writing of The Housemaid, I just was not into it. I wasn't sure that I was going to be a Frieda McFadden fan, despite the fact that her books continue to be popular, and she does, like I said, come out with so many a year. I wasn't sure if I was going to read it, like any more of her books. That being said, The Boyfriend caught my attention due to the premise, and additionally, I just continued to see so many positive reviews of her books, and I've been in such a thriller and like horror mood lately that when I saw that NetGalley had the audio copy for The Boyfriend available to request, I decided to go ahead and request it, and I got it, and it was only like 8 hours long, so I was like, sure, let's listen to this, and it was really good. So what is this book about? The Boyfriend follows a 30-ish-year-old woman named Sydney, and Sydney is wanting to find love. She's on dating apps. She is trying to meet somebody. At the start of the book, she actually goes on a date with somebody who does not look at all like their profile picture, and this person is a creep and is thinking that he is in love with her immediately and won't leave her alone. And that kind of plays an angle into the story, but it's not exactly the main focus of the story. Really, what's going on is, at the start of the story, Sydney has a friend who lives in her apartment building, and she's supposed to meet up with her at some point, and she ends up actually finding her murdered and brutalized body in her apartment, and things go from there. Additionally, Sydney eventually does get a boyfriend, but this boyfriend has some secrets and isn't very open about his life or his past or his other previous relationships. Why is that? You have to read and find out. Additionally, we do get a back-in-time POV of a teenage boy who has some tendencies toward murder, maybe, or at the very least some just weird stuff going on with him where he has like these intrusive thoughts that are not good. And so we get that past backstory, and it takes quite some time for us to figure out how those things tie into the present timeline. And additionally, beyond that, the present timeline is really escalating because we soon discover that the body that Sydney found at the start of the story might not be the only one. We might have a serial killer on our hands here. So how did I feel about this book? Like I said at the start of the video, I actually really enjoyed myself with it. In the past, I've had some issues with Frieda McFadden's writing. At times, it just felt very juvenile. There were some dialogue moments in previous books that just really bothered me and that didn't feel natural, were kind of cringy, and I was worried about that coming into this one. Especially in audio format, I particularly have moments where I notice bad dialogue in audio because you just hear it being said to you in a way that is not as easy to ignore as it is when you're just reading it on the page and it's in your head, and you kind of either graze over those moments or read them in a certain way in your mind where it doesn't bother you so much. On audiobook, it's really hard to miss bad dialogue. So I was worried about that, but thankfully, I found this to be a really smooth reading experience. I thought there were some great prose here at times, much better than in the past at the very least. I won't say it was like the most mind-blowing or amazing thriller writing I've ever read, but it definitely was a much more pleasant experience, and I found the dynamics between the characters and the dialogue a lot more believable than in the past. Additionally, I loved the mystery that was going on here. There were a lot of moments in which I thought I absolutely knew what was going on and I did not, or I thought I knew what was going on and it sort of was what was going on, but then there's this other twist that comes in and kind of changes the dynamic of what I thought was going on. So Frieda McFadden continuously does do that. She is very good at introducing and executing twists. I don't always believe them in that I find it just to be a little bit too outlandish, but in this case, the twist really worked for me. I had a really good time with the reveals in this book. The only thing that I will say is Sydney does make some decisions throughout the story in regard to how she views her relationship and the things that she's willing to put up with throughout the progression of the story. And I found that to be a little bit frustrating just because I did feel like there were a little bit of, I want to say, inconsistencies, I guess, in her character, because at some moments I'm like, okay, yeah, you're behaving this way, but then something else happens which makes me think that, yeah, you'll behave in a similar way, but that's not what happened. So that kind of bothered me, but overall that was kind of a minor thing, and I mean, humans are complicated. They make weird decisions sometimes, so I can get over that. This is also a book that I do feel could lend itself to a sequel, especially with how it ends. I'm not going to say anything about that, but I really liked the ending of the story and the way that Frieda McFadden chose to go with it. It definitely could have gone in a different direction and in a way that was a little bit more conclusive, but the way she leaves it is a little bit open-ended and in a way that I actually really enjoyed. Which is great, because sometimes authors try to go for that kind of open-ended thing and it just feels a little bit forced. This was not the case. I really did enjoy that quite a bit. But really, the question here is, if you've read some Frieda McFadden books before and not been convinced by them or not been into them, is this a book that I do still feel like you should give a try? And the answer to that question is yes. I was a skeptic myself. Like I said, I did enjoy The Housemaid. I didn't give it 5 stars, but I enjoyed it. And then I read a book that I absolutely hated, and so I thought I was done with the author. I took another chance on her, and now I'm willing to give her another chance. This definitely was a redeeming book for me in that I now have a lot more interest in Frieda McFadden's books, and I'm very curious to see what she does next as well. Ultimately, this is not a perfect novel. Like I said, there were a few issues with some of the characters' decisions at times, but overall I found the writing to be much improved over her previous works, the twists to be satisfying, the pace to be excellent. This was a book that I got down in like half a day. It was so fantastic in that way. It was very readable. I was on the edge of my seat. I was fully engaged throughout the entire thing, and there were some moments that made me gasp, that really took me by surprise. Overall, this is a really fantastic thriller book. If you like Frieda McFadden's books, you're going to like this one, and if you don't like Frieda McFadden books, you may like this one in the end anyway. So yeah, that's my review of this book. I do know that it is one of the October Book of the Month picks, so if you're a Book of the Month member, you may want to check this book out or get it as an add-on. If not, her books are typically pretty cheap on Kindle, in my experience at the very least, so you may want to check it out on there. But yeah, I do recommend this book. I thought it was a really good time. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you read Frieda McFadden books. Let me know in the comments which one I should read next. Like I said, I've only read The Housemaid, Never Lie, and now this one, The Boyfriend, so she has like 20 other novels, and I would love to know from you what's another one that you think I should give a try. I know they're not like the most amazing or well-written books ever, but I'm here to have a good time sometimes, and I think Frieda McFadden books are the way to do it. Thank you again so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.